Mine was in 1953, when I was 20 years old. I was having a baby. After 5 hours on the delivery table, I was near death. I needed blood, and there was none in the small town where I lived. At that time, the doctor decided to put me in an ambulance and send me to hospital in Nashville, 25 miles away. This was around midnight. The old ambulances were built like hearses. My husband was afraid to be that close to me when I died, so my mother climbed in beside me. The NDE started, while they were trying to decide about sending me. Of course the doctor thought that I had slipped into a coma. I was listening to every word. When the funeral director arrived, he was also the ambulance driver. With all that was going on, laying on my back with my eyes shut, I could see his feet and that his shoes' laces were not tied, and he had on no socks. That really bothered me because I was afraid that he would trip and fall. They had to wheel me through the waiting room and I could hear all the comments my mother-in-law kept repeating, "She's dead, look how her eyes have rolled back in her head." I was seeing nothing at the time, it was all black. When they put me in the ambulance, I was floating between the top and my body. I was apparently really moaning, and I could hear that all the time. I was thinking, I wish she would be quiet. It was like, my body was someone else, and I thought of it as a distraction, and just wanted it to be quiet. I could hear my mother talking to my body and telling it that we would soon be there. The ambulance was going full blast with siren on, and I remember seeing railroad tracks ahead and thinking that he should slow down. I felt no pain, but my body was still making a racket. When we got there, they were waiting for me and 5 men rolled me into the elevator and then straight into the delivery room. At this time I went straight to the ceiling and watched as if I were watching TV. I felt so good and so, no words, I guess Serene would come close. I absolutely had no interest in the body or about the baby. I did not see all the people in the waiting room that had followed me there, nor did I think about them. When I was floating in the room, I was looking down. Then all of a sudden, I was going backward and up at a fast rate. Without feeling it, I suddenly was going forward. I did not think of it as a tunnel, but it was dark and there was a brilliant white light ahead and I really wanted to hurry and get there. The only sound was like a whirling noise. I awoke the next day in intensive care with the doctor sitting beside my bed. I was so excited that I wanted to tell him about this wonderful experience, and he just smiled and patted my hand and started telling me about my baby. He said that he wanted to prepare me for when I saw him. He had been in the birth canal so long that his head was all squished and came to a point on top. He said also that he was afraid there may be brain damage. I had been in labor for a week before all this started. Well, it turned out that he had an IQ of 160. He was born the Sunday after Easter and he was killed the Sunday after Easter 25 years later in a plane crash in Alaska, where he was a bush pilot. He had several very close calls in various ways before he died. How did it change me? Before the NDE, I was a Sunday school teacher in a very strict fundamental church. After the NDE, I knew that nothing was like I had always believed. I became metaphysical overnight. It was like osmosis. There were no books, nothing was even whispered like my knowing. I still wanted to inform everyone that I came in contact with about this wonderful experience. Until the word got around that it was me and not the baby that had brain damage. So all the years before Dr. Moody, I learned to keep my mouth shut. I came out with knowledge that there is no death, only transition to another level. That saved me when my only son was killed. I grieved for me and all the people that loved him, but I knew that he had felt no pain and no sadness. Although he had a daughter born 2 weeks after his death, I only wished that he could have seen her, and then I realized that he did.